I bet my wife that I could make $2 million from this basement spare bedroom, which is now my office slash podcast studio. So, stay tuned and we'll talk about how I got myself into this mess. It's a great opportunity, but stay tuned. We look forward to hearing talking to you about it, hearing from you, talking to you about it, showing you, introducing you. Hello and welcome to the Pursuit of Passion podcast. It's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much for giving me your time. I mean, there's so much content to kind of embrace your time with, and I'm really honored that you chose to be here today. So some of you that know me, hello and welcome. If I haven't seen you in a long time because I've been recluse, well, obviously this is why. If you have no idea who the hell I am, then let me introduce myself. My name is Julian Botello. They call me the Bulldog. A lot of friends of mine do in the community of bowling and some golf. So a lot of variations of nicknames are going to be coming up, and well, hey, everybody knows me, and as long as they don't have too many bad things to say, I guess that's all right. So let's get started. So basically, what we're doing here is just I started a business a few years ago, and I am just branding myself. Networking, community is everything. So any venture that I choose to kind of endeavor in, if I have a strong support system, my brand, i.e., then a community around it, give back, take care of people that took care of me. But at the end of the day, the topic of the podcast is the pursuit of passion. So, I'm 33 years old. I got a couple kids and both daughters. So it's, I got to look at the world a little differently. I'm not training a man to take over, training a man to deal with the world in that sense. You're raising women to have value and understand what that means. And the idea of family is providers and caretakers and nurturers, and we have our role, and at the end of the day, I don't want them to get to 18, 20, 25, 30, however old they are when they choose to pursue relationships, and not know what to expect from a man, not know what's capable. I'm not anything special, I promise you. I mean, I'm a normal, average guy, nothing special, run-of-the-mill, but my perspective is what I would think would be the most special thing that I have to offer, and hopefully you guys can see that throughout time, throughout some interviews that we spend together. Basically, I just want to interview a bunch of people. I want to do our best to break the cycle, generational cycle. If it's not a good one, break it. If it's all right, how do you make it better, right? Like, your parents deserve that. They sacrificed a lot to be able to give you life, and you're lucky enough to be here. So I feel like you owe it to your community, you owe it to yourself, you owe it to your family, to be better than who you were when, who you were projected to be because of who they were, right? So, super excited about this journey. I mean, it's awkward. It's a little weird getting in front of the camera. I have blue lens glasses on to try to dim the light because I'm going to been looking at screens for so long lately. 100% we're in my basement, so it's not starting off anything fancy. I'm not pretending to be anything that it's not. Again, some of you guys know me. Hopefully you're watching the video. And then other than that, it's just I'm learning a lot, and in the past few years I've learned a lot. I started the company, in 2022, and then it kind of just sat dormant because I wanted to learn what small businesses was from an internal perspective, what small business was. small businesses were. Anyway, I wanted to understand the principles of small business. My dad worked, for Nelson's Towing for 23 years. I did speak to the owner of them, so Gary, thank you. Nelson's Towing, Rockford, he's been there for well over, I think, 75 years at this point. His dad owned the company. Gary owns the company now, and my dad worked for Gary and his dad for over 23 years and serving that community. And so, with that being said, it's just one of those, it's a gritty job. It's nasty, it's dirty, it's cold, it's hot, it's wet. It's everything that Michigan outside weather is, right? And it wasn't like he was in a huge, luxurious office when he wasn't on the road, but it was such a small community and a smaller operation, so they were always on the go and on the hustle. And then, praise Gary, who, he runs that shit by himself, most of the time. So, full-on multi-million-dollar company in operation that, it's a family business, but he's pretty much slinging those trucks and cars by himself now. So, that's what gave me the respect for small business owners, is just that type of grit, watching that, for me to be able to have a life provided for me. I'm the youngest of four, so, it's my two older brothers and my older sister, and then it's me. So, to see that type of grit, man, it just shapes your perspective. And it's, just the sacrifice that somebody's willing to give. And, we'll get into the legacy of my dad later, but, he had his turmoils and troubles, and just the way he was able to bounce back in life and just show up consistently every day, after so many trials and tribulations and tests and health issues and, mental issues and, lifed, right? And he put his priorities to the front, to the prefrontal cortex right there, and he made that, his ever purpose is to take care of those. And, God bless my mom for being there and being a strong woman to support that. So, my mom worked 15 years in retail for a pretty well-known company, and a medium-sized operation in retail for about 8 years before that. So I have a lot of corporate exposure, and just my work exposure is so diverse, and I've had really good bosses, and I've had really shitty bosses, no offense, but with all due respect. And so all that just shaped my perspective. And then, I have an authority complex, which my family loves to remind me of, and it's just one of those things where it was the parenting style and approach that was given to me. So, that's what shaped my perspective, right? Because perspective is experience and exposure. You'll probably hear me say that 50 million times, depending on how many episodes I do. So, and I plan to be consistent for a while, because this is going to be a long journey. It's a big community, a lot shifting, in the world. Pardon me real quick. All right, sorry about that. I'm not 100%, well versed in how to segment a podcast. So with that being said, a lot's changing, right? And so, the introduction of AI, elections being what they are, politics being what they are, scarcity being what it is or isn't, money being what it is or isn't. Everybody's just in a weird anxiety-driven state, and I feel like it's just, it'll be a nice breath of fresh air to be able to learn together with a community, share our common thoughts, and shoot the shit. But also, we're gonna discover and dive into some real life-changing opportunities together. And it's not that, it's, again, I have anything grandiose to offer. I'm not going to sell a master class or anything. But again, I've created a business, and I'm going to create a brand and, a small community, so that as small business owners and, consumers, we can, try to save money where we can, try to help each other where we can. You know, if you have a small business and I can promote it in any way, shape, or form, I have grandiose visions for this. And I want to work with as many people as possible. I, I guess a little bit of why this channel is coming to now and not 3 years ago is so I moved to Texas in 2019 with my family. Met my current fiance at the time there. Moved back here in May. My father died June of that year. And so that would have been, it was Father's Day weekend. So he passed away when I came back up here that, a month or so later. And then, so I came up here. I mean, full disclosure, it was COVID. Everything was, shutting down. Not shut down, but it was shutting down. Everything was a lot of unknown, a lot of variables. My mom and Crystal, my fiance, we'll name her and drop her. It's fine. Hopefully she doesn't get mad. They had a little bit of a tiff, and because we'd all moved down there together and planned to kind of build up, move out on our own type of thing as far as that. But it didn't work out that way because COVID shut everything down. So when she left, I took her to the airport. Ironically, my brother and I actually helped take her to the airport because I couldn't drive at the time. I have keratoconus. It's scar tissue on my corneas, basically. And so I wear special lens contacts now. At the time, I didn't have a good enough prescription to be able to see, to be able to drive, yada, yada. So, little backstory. With that being said, she left. I really just felt like, she was a good woman. We had a really good just everything, and I felt like she was worth, breaking the comfort chain for, if you will. So, I asked her, I was like, I told her I still want to be with you, and, if you want to be with me, I don't have a lot to offer you, but, I'd love to do life with you. And so she said she was here in Michigan, Grand Rapids. It's where I'm from. So I came back here, got with her, got a job, got unemployment at the time because of COVID. Thank you, U.S. government. Appreciate it. Got me back on my toes. Endorsement. Shout out. With that being said, it's really just a matter of, that time was just I remember I started to turn things around, right? Like I set a doctor's appointment for optometrist appointment for my vision. I had gotten my license back because before then I had a couple of fines that prevented me from getting it. So, and I remember just sharing those with my dad, those successes, if you will, at the time, because that's what they felt like. We'll get into my backstory later, but, small wins become huge victories over time depending on what you have going on. And if you're goal setting, that's something to remember too, is small wins lead to huge victories. So, just remember that. But with that being said, that was that time frame, 2019, 2020. So I moved back up here, got a job after the unemployment money came in, got me my contacts back, got my license back, got a cheap car, got a job at a junk removal service. So I started doing junk removal for a couple of years. It's a small business. He was a franchise that just bought it, but they were looking at exponential growth. So they bought a bunch of them throughout the entire United States. Even Hawaii and things like that. So they had these locations and they needed help growing them. So I wasn't a direct manager, but I was working really closely with the managers there at the time. And then they left, so there was an opportunity to step up and help be an assistant at the smaller location. So I learned a lot about the ins and outs of businesses and keeping track of metrics and growth and how you build up people and how you talk to people. And that was it was another eye-opening kind of sales experience with the money that I was able to make for myself after not making a whole lot of money because of what I had going on in life. So it was nice, a refresher, but it was hard, dirty work. I was literally shoveling shit off of floors, and hoarder houses for people were not great at all. I remember stripping before getting into my car just so I didn't have any type of bugs or anything. It's dirty work, but it's a junk removal company. What do you expect? A lot of fun. A lot of fun. A lot of fun. But probably one of the most, probably the most fun job I've had. Stanley Steamer, maybe. When I was, 20, in between the kitchen jobs. But yeah, it was service. I've always been in service. My mom was in service. My dad was in service. My mom was in customer service. So that's kind of what's always been that, you don't have to necessarily clock in and work for somebody. You can be the guy that somebody clocks in for, and that's what kind of started that mindset. I've always just been the most curious of fellas. It's just in my nature. I mean, like this podcast is going to be so much because, I can specifically remember being in the 6th grade looking up the Twin Towers and stuff like that, and it's like, what is the temperature at which jet fuel burns metal? I was always curious. Always just curious. Like, what is the truth, right? Like, I was like, I don't know if that's the truth or not, but, what is truth? Truth is subjective. Truth is subjective to what you allow yourself to believe it is. So, so with that being said, I was working for that small business, and I got into a management position, and it just didn't turn into what I thought it was going to turn into, the partnership I thought. But, it's okay. It's fine. Stuff happens, and no hard feelings to me and that company at all. I can probably text the owner right now. 80% chance I'll get a response. He'll probably watch this podcast at some chance. Matt, how you doing? So, it's really just, you gotta take everything with a grain of salt. It's a lesson. I didn't fail. Hopefully he doesn't feel like I failed him. Hopefully he doesn't feel like he failed. It's just, it's lessons. It's learning. Things happen, life, circumstance, timing, and decisions and choices, right? Like, I'm started a business 3 years ago, but here I am. This is the first launch, essentially, of it. So, it's life. And then it's timing. Timing is everything. So fast forward. So I worked for a flooring company after that. Did sales for them. Did a couple $1 million in sales. So that was cool. Switched over to the automotive industry. My cousin was a sales manager at a local dealership. Might get him on, so I'll talk to him and find out if I'm able to disclose what dealership. But yeah, so I worked there for a while, and then just had conflicting views with some of management. Not all of management, because apparently some of them are no longer there anymore. So apparently that was a bias sliding scale, but nonetheless, no hard feelings. Those guys taught me a lot. And that was the cool thing, is being exposed to that industry. It was really different. So anytime you're in a different environment, you get to view things and learn things, and it really opened my eyes to another part of business and customer service, and like how business works and cycles and flows, and the ebbs and flows of business, and it really just taught me a lot. So when it didn't work out, I was disheartened. I loved the guys that I worked with and the ladies that I worked with. It was just good people, they had good people. And so Sorry, I'm trying to choose my words carefully because I like those guys over there, and it is my cousin. Um, Great people, bad timing, I think I would say. And with that, I mean morale wasn't always the best for certain, some reasons or another. And so it it just wasn't able to be the perfect fit for me, unfortunately, even though I loved the people that I worked with and we had so much fun. But nonetheless, it brought me here, right? So that's what brings me to this moment where, I've essentially just been doing research on how to run business and grow business, develop people, speak with customers, listen, and that's a super, super big compliment that I've gotten from a lot of people that I've done business with, is that they liked my ability to shut the fuck up and listen. Like we're just in a time where nobody feels heard anymore, and I'll piggyback off of some messages that a lot of people say. It's we all want to be a part of something, and we all want to be seen and heard. And when I'm operating in a self-doubt frequency, it's like I'm kind of just a negative Nancy. But when I have a little bit of confidence, it's like I want the whole world around me to shine. And so I feel like I have this unfair advantage. It's a what's your superpower type thing. Well, in business, it's what's your unfair advantage. My community, my network, the people that I know. I know people in such diverse areas, from golf to MMA to literal powerlifting and shows for their body. Oh God, poker, bowling, like boxing. There's so many different people in these communities that there's an exchange that could be had of just exposure of like, hey man, you're working on this, you're working on, let's even call it boxing. One of my buddies, Kenny, is a huge boxer. Hopefully he doesn't get mad for shouting him out. Maybe he needs somebody to sponsor him or something like that. Well, if you have a public, a little bit of a public brand and, a company, and you're doing all right and you can give back a little bit to somebody who wants to follow their dream, like, that dude's put in so much work to follow his passion. I would love to put myself in a position where I can ask people, what do you want to do if money is not an object? What are you passionate about? What could you do every day that would make you feel like you're not going to work? Like, put it in the comments below. Like, feel free to DM me on all my other channels. I'll have all the links for them. Like, what would you do? Would you travel? Would you just learn a language? Would you try to be the best in the world at one particular thing, whether it's, and I'll use my thing, like, would it be bowling? Would it be golf? What would you do if you didn't have to worry about paying the mortgage, paying the insurance, getting the kids to school, because you have the ability to homeschool them now because you have time? For me, it used to be bowling. Not gonna lie, I've gravitated. I like to say that I grew up a little bit. I moved into golf. No, for me, it's just you'll notice I'm kind of hitting my forehead and stuff like that a little bit. I've always had skin issues, so I wasn't like a huge outdoor kid. I love being outside. I'd ride my bike for fucking hours. Just parents didn't know where we were at in the city. But anyway, sorry, Mom. Sorry, Dad. Dad, I just apologized to a dead guy. So let's just soak that in. Anyway, so gallivanting all throughout the city, and just I loved it, but I couldn't really do a lot of the other outdoor stuff. Just something about the sweat and the grass, and what it came down to at the end of the day is that you are what you eat. You are what you put into your body and what you expose your body to, and it was just never good things. So my skin was just never any good. So now it's a little better, yada yada. So anyway, that's why you'll see me hitting my forehead from time to time. So you guys, well, I think that's gonna be a wrap. Go ahead and like and subscribe. Like I said, it's Sunday. Right around 3 o'clock. Hopefully I get this in by tonight. I don't know that I will. If not, it'll be live tomorrow. And then, just follow along. Probably be 2 a week, I'm thinking, is the schedule right now. Just with having the, still working for, Amazon and stuff like that. But then, let me know kind of what the structure is that you guys want to see. What do you guys want to talk about? Like I said, I got some guests coming on. Brian Garland's going to join us and try to get Tyler Ladwig, just residential, close owners, basically show the community that we're here for them. Be a voice for them, let them know what we have to offer them going on in the springtime, summertime, local businesses. And so it's going to be fun. It's going to be crazy. I'm going to post some dumb shit every now and again because, I'm passionate about a lot of things, and there's no cap on learning, so you can learn from anybody, and don't be afraid to remember that. So whether they're older, whether they're younger, sometimes you gotta check your ego at the door, and feel free to go ahead and listen. So we'll talk to you soon, you guys. Like, subscribe, let me know what I could do for you. Have a wonderful day.